From tears to triumph, a true human story. On a cold morning in a small forgotten town, where the streets were cracked and dreams seemed even more broken, a child was born into a world that had already decided his limits. His name was Ion, and from the very beginning, life did not welcome him with comfort. His father worked long hours at a factory that barely paid enough to feed the family, and his mother stitched clothes late into the night under a dim yellow bulb that flickered as if it too were tired of trying. Their home was small, with walls that carried the smell of dust and years of silent struggle, but within those walls lived hearts that refused to surrender. Ion's childhood was not painted with bright toys or warm vacations. It was colored with sacrifice. He learned early that every meal was earned with sweat, every book was bought with compromise, and every smile his mother gave hid 1,000 worries. He watched his father leave before sunrise and return after sunset, shoulders bent not just from labor but from the weight of responsibility. And though Ion did not fully understand the language of hardship, he understood its feeling. It was the silence at dinner when there was less food than usual. It was the hesitation before buying school supplies. It was the quiet arguments at night when bills piled up like storm clouds. School became both his refuge and his battlefield. He was not the smartest in the class, nor the strongest. He was thin, often mocked for his worn-out shoes and faded uniform. There were days he returned home with eyes swollen from tears he tried so hard to hide. Words can wound deeper than fists, and children can be cruel without knowing the scars they leave behind. He questioned himself constantly. Was he not enough? Was he meant to stay small, invisible, ordinary? But within him, somewhere beneath the hurt and doubt, there lived a spark. It was small, almost fragile, but it refused to die. It grew every time his mother told him, "Your situation is not your destiny." It grew every time his father placed a rough, tired hand on his shoulder and said, "Keep going." It grew every time he opened a book and discovered worlds beyond his own. When Ion turned 14, life dealt a blow that shattered whatever stability they had left. The factory where his father worked shut down without warning. Overnight, the steady, though meager, income disappeared. The house felt heavier. The air felt tighter. His father searched endlessly for work, returning home each evening with disappointment written across his face. Bills remained unpaid. Food portions grew smaller. Tension grew louder. One night, Ion overheard his parents discussing whether he should leave school to work and help the family. The words struck him like lightning. Leave school. Give up the one place where he felt hope. That night he cried quietly, staring at the ceiling, feeling helpless and angry. Why was life so unfair? Why did effort never seem to be enough? But something shifted inside him. Instead of surrendering to despair, he made a decision. If he had to fight, he would fight with everything he had. He began waking up before dawn to deliver newspapers in the neighborhood. After school, he helped a local shopkeeper stack shelves in exchange for a small wage. At night, he studied under that same flickering bulb his mother used for sewing. Sleep became a luxury he could rarely afford. Exhaustion became his constant companion. There were days when his body begged him to quit. There were nights when his mind whispered that it was pointless. But every time doubt crept in, he remembered his parents' sacrifices. He remembered the humiliation of being told he would never amount to anything. And instead of breaking him, those memories fueled him. Years passed in a blur of struggle and determination. Ion graduated high school with grades that surprised even his teachers. A scholarship opportunity emerged, one that could change everything. The competition was fierce, filled with students who had advantages he never had. Private tutors, stable homes, financial security. He felt small again, like the boy with worn-out shoes. But this time, he did not let that feeling define him. He poured his story into the scholarship essay. He wrote not about perfection, but about perseverance. Not about talent, but about resilience. When the acceptance letter arrived, he stared at it in disbelief. His hands trembled. His mother cried openly for the first time in years, not tears of sorrow, but tears of pride. His father, usually reserved, embraced him tightly, whispering, "You did it." College was a new world. It was intimidating, fast-paced, and unforgiving. There were moments when he felt like an outsider, struggling to keep up academically and socially. He faced failures that bruised his confidence. A project that didn't succeed. An exam he barely passed. Rejections from internships. Each setback felt like a reminder of where he came from. But Ion had learned something powerful: failure was not the end. It was a teacher. Instead of collapsing under disappointment, he analyzed it. He asked questions. He improved. He stayed late in the library while others slept. He sought mentors, absorbed advice, and pushed himself beyond comfort. During his final year, he developed a project aimed at helping small communities access affordable education resources online. It was inspired by his own childhood: the lack of books, the absence of guidance, the hunger for opportunity. Many doubted the idea. Some called it unrealistic. But Ion was no stranger to doubt. He had lived with it his whole life. He worked tirelessly, refining the concept, pitching it to potential supporters, facing rejection after rejection. Yet with each no, his resolve strengthened. Eventually, someone said yes. That single opportunity opened doors he never imagined. The project grew, reaching villages and towns similar to the one he grew up in. Children who once felt invisible began discovering their own potential. Years later, Ion stood on a stage in front of hundreds of young students. The boy who once cried over insults was now a man inspiring others to rise above their circumstances. He spoke not of success as wealth or fame, but as growth. He spoke of tears that watered the seeds of strength. He spoke of triumph not as a single moment, but as a journey of countless small decisions to keep going. His parents sat in the front row, older now, their hair touched with gray. Their eyes shone with pride that no hardship could ever dim. In that moment, Ion understood something profound. Triumph was not about escaping pain, it was about transforming it. The path had never been easy. It was filled with uncertainty, heartbreak, exhaustion, and doubt. But every tear he shed had carved resilience into his spirit. Every obstacle had sharpened his courage. Every failure had prepared him for a greater victory. From a small house with cracked walls to a platform where his voice carried hope, Ion's journey was not a fairy tale. It was real. It was messy. It was human. And that is what made it powerful. Because the truth is, triumph does not belong to the privileged or the lucky. It belongs to those who refuse to give up when giving up seems reasonable. It belongs to those who choose belief over bitterness, effort over excuses, and hope over fear. Ion's story is a reminder that circumstances may shape you, but they do not have to define you. Tears are not a sign of weakness, they are proof that you care deeply enough to feel. And when you allow those tears to fuel your determination rather than drown your dreams, something extraordinary happens. You rise. And in rising, you become living proof that even the most broken beginnings can lead to beautiful victories.